Hey, it is Andy with the Fence Post Indie Music and Vinyl blog, and you can see based on the tinsel on my record shelf and my little tree back there, it is still the holiday season. In fact, as I'm recording this, it is January 1, 2023. So today, I want to take a look back at 2022 and recap my year in vinyl. First, I'll share some general stats before doing a quick countdown of my top 5 albums that I listened to that were not released in 2022 on my turntable. Why am I excluding records released this year, or I guess now last year? Because they track pretty closely to my best albums of 2022 countdown. Link in the description to that if you have not yet seen it. Let's get started with some general stats. I am the level of record collector nerd that tracks all of my spins. I started doing it in 2020, so it doesn't cover the scope of plays back to my first record purchase in 1998, but it includes a fair share of plays. Format irrelevant, meaning vinyl, CD, and cassette, I have 2,735 items in my collection. That's albums, singles, compilations, box sets, etc. Since I began logging all of my plays, I have played records 5,893 times. That does include a few minor estimates, but only in the single digits, 1 to 2 plays. In 2021, I played items in my collection 1,152 times. In 2022, I topped that by playing 1,356 times. Now let's do a countdown of my top 5 records that I listened to on my turntable the most in 2022. Starting the list at number 5 is, well, my number 1 album from 2020. It is Kevin Morby's Sundowner, a conceptual and contemplative album about mortality, kind of like his 2022 release. It was released in the year the world locked down and pretty much everyone lost someone we knew. The album was an odd comfort amidst all of that isolation. I was in a brand new space. I knew nobody. My family was half the country away. And now 2 years later, as I'm also quite cemented in middle age at 42, I continue to welcome Morby's exploration of mortality with open arms. Bring it on, Morby. I want more. Next is the Radio Dept. To this day, Lesser Matters by the Radio Dept. Remains my favorite album by the band. It's nostalgic for me. I put it up there with Up Against the Legends by the Legends and Perfect From Now On by Built to Spill. These are albums that really got me obsessed with music. And in the case of this one and the Legends, it really got me into this buzzed out indie pop. Lesser Matters was their debut LP released in 2003, and it includes one of my all-time favorites from the band, Where Damage Isn't Already Done. Number 3, given the domination of Built to Spill's 2022 album When the Wind Forgets Your Name, and its placement as number 3 on my top albums of 2022 list, I dove deep into my collection of Built to Spill records, and one that had the most impact and influence on my desire to discover new music was their 1996 LP, Perfect From Now On. Again, not a surprise here, but it kind of goes beyond that. 2022 was a year that I looked back to my teenage years. I picked up a few additional influential items from that time, including LPs by Smashing Pumpkins, Mazzy Star, and while Soundgarden never really got added, it came close to adding it a few times. Number 2. This is no surprise for 2 reasons. First is that it was my number 1 album of 2021. Second, I went on a few low binges in 2022. One earlier in the year when I pulled it out and gave it a few spins, along with some other albums of theirs. And second, after Mimi Parker sadly passed away in the fall. I'd still love to add Double Negative from 2018 and Ones and Sixes from 2015 to my collection. I wouldn't be surprised if reissues, or at least represses, are in the works. And number 1, 23 by Blonde Redhead. I remember being blown away when 23 came out in 2008. And again, when I saw them perform at the Showbox in Seattle that same year with the New Pornographers. Back then, I noted it was kind of rare that a band released an album that I didn't really feel had a weak point. And that statement still holds true today, 16 years later. Did I do that math right? Nope. 15 years later. 23 was a bit different for Blonde Redhead. The band dipped further into the dreamy, shoegazy, swirling guitar sounds that they had always flirted with but never really fully committed to. And as an aside, their 2000 LP Melody of Certain Damaged Lemons came pretty damn close to joining this list as well. There it is, my top 5 records played in 2022 on my turntable that were not released that year. I'd love to know what some of your top spins were, either on your turntable or in your Spotify list, Pandora, Amazon Music, whatever you use. I'm committed to putting together some more lists in 2023, so don't forget to subscribe. I will see you next time.